you, the convalescents dressed in blue. Had to hear Lady Lee, who had turned 83, sing all the old songs she knew. And then she made a speech and said, I look upon you boys with pride, and to thank you all I'm gonna kiss each one. Then they grabbed a stick and cried, goodbye, goodbye, wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's all too hard, I know, I'll be check the death to go. Don't cry, don't say, there's a silver lining to say. On sorrow, think, cheerio, chin chin, now who to the goodbye. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
800 or more people who lived and came from Tilbury. We come to think of them as some of those many millions who served in the forces, and so many of them died in that great war. And so we will listen to the songs they marched to, and we'll listen to the words they spoke. None of us have immediate memories of that war. The last of the survivors of the First World War died 6 or 7 years ago. Some of us may know people who were in that war or have family members. In fact, we've talked with lots of people who have vivid memories of their families. And we come to remember them. Like me, some of you may have talked with them. I remember our chemistry teacher, who, whenever there was a smelly experiment, stood by the door. He'd been gassed in the First World War. I remember that we so often called our teachers Miss. And that wasn't because we didn't know whether they were Mrs. or Miss, but they were all Miss. Because of a generation where, frankly, there was not enough men to be husbands to all the women. So many had been lost. I think of a member of our family who was a tramp. Because when he came home from the First World War, he couldn't live in a house and in a family. Today we would call it post-traumatic stress. But he was, and truly was, a gentleman of the road. And so I want to think in the words of these people. One of my great heroes of the First World War was, surprisingly, a chaplain. The story is told that people, the soldiers were asked in the trenches, have you seen the chaplain today? No. Have you seen Reverend stood at Kennedy? No. Have you seen Woodbine Willie? Because that's where he would go up and down the trenches just before the men were ready to go over the top, with the most massive box of Woodbines. I'm sure it's terribly unhealthy now, but did it matter? And actually, more often than not, he went over them. He was not a combatant, but he knew that he would need to follow them and bring back the wounded. And he brought back the wounded, received a military cross for rescuing under fire. And the citation said that he rescued English and German casualties because they were all human beings. And he told us that we should listen to the voices of the people who were in that conflict, the ordinary men. It was men in that war. I want to just start by reading part of one of his poems. He lived and worked in Worcester, so it's a bit of a dialect poem, but I'm no good at dialects. Yes, I'm fighting for old England and for 18 pence a day. I'm fighting like a hero, or so the papers say. Well, I ain't no downy chicken. I'm a bloke past 43. And I'm going to tell you honest what old England means to me. When I joined the British Army, I've been working 30 years, and I left my blooming book showing 3 months in arrears. I weren't a chronic boozer. I weren't a lad to bet. I worked hard, but I could get it. I weren't afraid to sweat. But I weren't a tradesman proper, and the work were off to seek, so the most I could addle were about £1 a week. And when me and Jane got married, when we had our oldest kid, we soon learned how many shillings go to make a golden quid. If we had to keep the clubs up, and there's 3 and 6 for rent, with food, boots and clothing, it no sooner came than went. Then when kiddies kept on coming, we reared 4 and buried 3. My old woman couldn't do it, so we got in debt, you see. And we had a heap of sickness, and we got struck off the club with all our lot of troubles. We just couldn't pay the sub. Well, my old England were a curse. It was sleeping, sweating, starving, wearing boot soles for a job. It was sucking up to foremen what'd sell you for a bob. It was cringing, crawling, whining for the right to earn your bread. It was scheming, pinching, planning, or wishing you were dead. I'm not fighting for old England, not for this child of my hell. For the sake of that old England, I'd not face a single shell, not a singing blooming whiz-bang, never mind the blasted snow, with a comrade falling round you, lying bleeding in the snow. But I do all this for old England. Would I ella's like, not me. What I say is sink old England to the bottom of the sea. It's new England as I fights for. It's an England swept out clean. It's an England where we'll get at things our eyes have never seen. Decent wages, justice, mercy, and a chance for every man to make his home in heaven if he does the best he can. It's that better, cleaner England made of better, cleaner men. It's that England as I fights for. And I'm game to fight again. It's the better land of Blighty that still shines afore our eyes. That's the land a soldier fights for. And for that, a soldier dies. So we gather to commemorate and to remember the beginning of that First World War. Our memorials here, put there by the men of Coalhouse Fort, so called it the Great War. And we remember its violence, its sorrow, its courage, the loss, those unimaginable things we ask young men to do for us, and the apocalyptic horrors that they lived through and had to live with later. And so we keep in our prayers, and we've lit the candles. If you've not lit a candle before you came in, please do so. There'll be another opportunity at the end of our time. We think especially of those who came from Thurrock. 800 or so died. Many more were broken men. Many more families. Streets of them, families of them, were bereft of their men. We think of those who willingly accepted their menfolk back broken and changed, not the people they'd said their fond farewells to. We remember the many who passed by and embarked from this borough, to serve in Europe and elsewhere in Africa, and those who served in battles on the sea, and those involved in air conflict. Grant us, Lord, the grace to remember the cost that was paid, and that we too may look to be peacemakers and better world makers. Give us the grace to accept differences without retaliation and to honour the sacrifices made by others so that their future, denied to them, may be lived by us. Amen.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I want your attention. And we've got some loud voices in here. Yes, to join in tonight's entertainment. May I first start by introducing from the Royal London Borough of Avery, Lindsay Hollingsworth. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen.
A body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by the sons of home. and think, this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less gave somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter, learnt of friends and gentleness, in hearts at peace, under an English heaven.
Once more from our neighbouring friends in Avery, and next year I'll be looking for a lot more people from the wonderful Thurrock area, because I've heard some of you sing and you can do a rather good job. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce, courtesy of the dear old Radio 4 nationwide heard on Sunday, young Miss Amy Hollingsworth. Round of applause for Amy, please.
Now I stand up no more. Aye, the ball is flying, the lads play heart and soul. The goal stands up, the keeper stands up to keep the goal. Is my girl happy that I was hard to leave? And has she tired of weeping as she lies down at eve? Aye, she lies down lightly, she lies not down to weep. Your girl is well contented, be still, my lad, and sleep. Is my friend hearty? Now I am thin and pine. And has he found to sleep in a better bed than mine? Yes, lad, I lie easy. I lie as lads would choose. I cheer a dead man's sweetheart, never ask me whose.
It's a long way
to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know.
Up to my sea London came an Irish lad one day. All the streets were paved
with gold, sure everyone was gay, singing songs of Piccadilly, grand and Leicester Square. Till Paddy got excited, then he shouted to them there. It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly, farewell, Leicester Square. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there.
Sacrificed their lives in the service of humanity. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Everybody in there thought of their granddads. Yes, or great-grands. It's wonderful, really humbling.
For them, we won't be here.
No, I think we've taken them for granted for too long, perhaps.
I'm going to find out what mine did. He was in like a fur coat in northern Europe.
And now you do know who the most important guests were tonight. They were the people who were here 100 years ago. And I'm rather hoping they were in that church thinking, right, next thing we want you to do, Steve, is build that memorial. And put it back where it should be.
Yes. Let's start a little campaign.
I think so, yeah.